part of the duo Dancing Johnson team joins us this morning. And which one of y'all encouraged Coach Malzahn to do that dance Saturday?
It was inspired by something I like to do at home. Yeah.
He's been watching Jared's TikTok videos.
That's right.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good to have you with us. And special congratulations on a big award you guys were presented. And talk about that just a little bit. That's a pretty big deal.
We did win an award from the Business Council of Alabama in partnership with the Chamber of Commerce Association. I think it's called the CCA, something along those lines. The Small Business of the Year for the number of employees in the category we were in. I mean, that's a nice award, fantastic recognition, but you know how it is. They got to give the award to somebody.
That's
so,
correct.
I mean, we didn't do anything all that special.
Yeah, there were 12,000 business. No, but
there were only one nominated. It was us, so we got it, right? Yeah.
Congratulations, though.
Thank you.
That is a high honor, and you got a beautiful staff there at Marble City Pharmacy as well.
Well, they're the ones that do all the work.
Yeah.
He said beautiful staff.
Well, he wasn't talking about you.
Oh,
He was
okay.
talking about the
All
employees.
right.
No.
Yeah, they're the ones that do all the work. We take all the credit, but they do all the work. So yeah, it has worked out well for us.
Yeah. Hey, I say all of us, a lot of people suffer from what we're talking about this morning, and that's dry skin. This is the time of year for dry skin for sure.
This is the time of year for dry skin. You know, it almost seems like maybe something, why are you talking about that? Dry skin's a big deal on everybody's mind right now, particularly, I don't know how to say this, but probably with the people who are watching this program. As you get older, you experience more dry skin.
Why do you always say that?
It's a good point. You know, as you get older, your glands produce less oil, right? And you're more likely to get dry skin. But in the winter, it's even worse. And so what happens is you got the cold air, you're running the heater inside the house. There's just less moisture, less water in the air, less humidity. And so this is the time of year and the right time to talk about it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I was looking at my thumbs a little bit earlier, and they're just kind of dry, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And
Robert, you can't get a close-up of those cracked fingers, can you?
But a little lotion every once in a while. But what are some of the symptoms of dry skin? Other than big dry skin?
The first one that everybody associates, obviously, is itching. And if you've ever had dry skin, it's an itch that scratching does nothing for other than make your skin look like you scratched it a lot. It's a miserable itch. Often you get, like scaling or peeling or really ashy or white skin where it's clearly not healthy skin. And so along with the itch and along with the look of it, you get something that, you only recognize this term if you've had it. And if you've had it, you'll know exactly what I mean. It's called skin tightness. It just feels like, move around normally. I do this, it feels like my skin's moving pretty well with my fingers. You get really dry skin, you start moving stuff, it feels like your skin's trying to keep you from going. Mm-hmm. You get real skin tight. All those things, and including probably what's the most dangerous part of it is it's also much more susceptible to injury, cuts, scrapes, things like that. So you go clawing at it because it's itching so bad. You're making scrapes, you're making cuts, makes you more likely to get infections and things like that.
But you know what? Even though it's not a good thing, that scratching feels good just for the moment, though.
Scratching feels good for the moment, but it's on your back or something like that, it just makes it worse. It just makes it worse.
You go up to a wall corner like a bear out in the woods trying to scrape your back.
Of course, I guess more susceptible to it in the wintertime than summertime.
Definitely more susceptible to it in the winter, and to go along with that, when you use, as it happens to me every single winter, I don't think I have a good blood flow in my hands. And so if you're a person like me
No, I was going to say that, but go ahead.
If you're a person who doesn't have good blood flow to your hands are cold all the time, you're going to be somebody who's more susceptible. If you're somebody like us who use hand sanitizer all day, every day, you're going to be more susceptible. And to go along with what Jake said, a lot of times as it gets more severe, you see the kind of cracking in your skin and between your fingers. Every once in a while, I'll just look down and my hands are bleeding, quite frankly. Mm-hmm. So if yours is bad enough, you may see some of that as well.
I don't know why. Maybe it's just coincidental, but it seemed like people that are hands in the water a lot can be a problem too.
It's counterintuitive. The people whose hands are the wettest have the driest skin. And so, who is that? Well, that's Obviously, people in healthcare professions having to wash their hands constantly. It's, hairdressers, hair salon workers having to have their hands in that water constantly. Dishwashers at restaurants, constant. There's a lot of people that fall into that category. And those people, it just weakens the skin and dries the skin and weakens the skin. And it is a perpetual cycle. And so, yes, one of the things that we don't think about, one of the worst skin drying things out there is a lot of hot water. It's counterintuitive. Hot water is one of the worst skin drying things there is. And we'll get to that in a minute, obviously.
Wow. Certainly, the older you get, the more issues you have with it. And I guess this can, if you go far enough, it can create more issues.
Yeah, probably so. Let's talk about a little bit what we can do. I'll give you a couple things we can do, and then Jay will give you a couple more. I don't know how to say this, so I'll just have to come out and say it. You can decrease the frequency with which you shower and or bathe. Now,
some of you can.
There are some of you that do not need to decrease the frequency with which you shower and or bathe.
Be looking at you, Jake.
You don't want to go from once a week to once a month, for example, okay? Point being, though, as we've already talked about, the more you're in the water, the more you're exposed to water, the higher the water temperature is, the more likely you are to get dry skin that drives you crazy. Another thing you can do, even if you don't decrease the frequency with which you shower, is to try to tone down the temperature a little bit. The hotter the water, the more likely you are to get dry skin. Also, to use a mild bar soap. The best take-home message here would be, if you're using one of these fancy soaps or shower gels that's on the commercial that makes you smell good and makes your hair stand up, and if you have hair.
Yeah, well.
Those usually contain chemicals that make your skin drier and drier and drier. So a mild bar soap, not to call any brand names, but you guys know what I'm talking about. Just a plain mild bar soap rather than something that may dry your skin out worse.
No, there's, and this is not something, especially not something that guys normally think about. This is just not something on our normal list. But when you get out of the shower, if you have dry skin, when you get out of the shower, pat yourself dry. If you're like me, you think the only way to get dry is to take that towel
scrub it
and rip that skin right off. But pat yourself dry and immediately put on a moisturizing lotion. Take those spots of your skin that are trouble spots. If it's not the entirety of it, whether it's just your hands and legs or whatever, moisturizing lotion right after bathing, after patting damp dry, because the drier it is once you go, the harder it is to get that moisturizer to sink in. So put on a moisturizer immediately after showering or bathing. And then one that nobody ever thinks about. Everybody always comes in and goes straight to that lotion aisle. Hey, come over here and tell me what I can get. If the cause is the air is too dry, get you a cool mist vaporizer to put in your room at night when you sleep. Now that sounds ridiculous. It sounds like we're not addressing the problem, but if dry air is the problem, and it is, then let's just vaporize the room a little bit. You can leave it on during the day, you can leave it on at night while you're sleeping. That way the room you spend the most time in is not only not making your problem worse, but it's helping your problem.
What about, however, lotions and stuff for dry skin?
Well, I tell you what, there are a myriad of
Good word for
lotions and creams. My favorite one is actually a cream that I use on my hands quite often. And there's a bunch of them to choose from. You can use the one that works best for you. Again, we want to make sure that these are just moisturizing lotions or creams, not with other added chemicals that would make our problem worse instead of better. But obviously, we have a ton of those on the shelf at the pharmacy.
Okay. For people who are watching this morning, and you mentioned a ton of them, what is one or two that we might can look at?
Yeah, I mean, I assume the one you're referring to is the Utter Balm that you used a lot.
Yes.
And is it Utter Balm, Utter Cream? What's the name of it? I want to get it right.
Utterly smooth, isn't it?
Utterly Smooth. There we go. Sorry. UDDER. Utterly, as in a cow. Utterly Smooth. Comes in a tub about like yay. It's really good. Now, when you get severe dry, cracky skin, I tell people the grosser a product is to use, the better it is going to work. And I'm talking jumping up to your straight petroleum jelly, Vaseline kind of stuff. Aquaphor is a very similar product to that. Sometimes the thicker the better in these cases. Eucerin is a very good product for that. And so, petroleum jelly, Vaseline, Aquaphor, Eucerin, and Utterly Smooth. Utterly Smooth I like best simply because my problem isn't that bad. It's not as thick and gross and oily as those other ones. It's a really smooth product.
Just because, Jared, I can put that lotion on my hands and I can say, man, that's got a great smell to it. Might not be the way to go.
No. Most of the ones with smell have these type of chemicals that would dry your hands out. Quite frankly, the ones we're talking about don't smell like much of anything at all. So that's probably a good reminder to go by there.
Yeah. We talked about our hands, but what are some other areas of our bodies that tend to dry?
Further away you get from your central core, the worse it's going to be. And so hands and legs and feet. And, the hands thing, the reason we keep talking about that is because it's not just that it is the furthest out in our upper extremities. It's that it's also in the winter, you go out and you got your big coat on and you got your toboggan or your scarf or your hat or, you got your big boot. The only thing that's exposed is your face and your hands. And so that's why we end up with so much dryness in the winter in face and hands, and not maybe as much in other places that would otherwise be susceptible. But beyond that, it's the legs and the feet.
Let's shift gears just a little bit before we go, and a lot of talk about the COVID vaccine.
Sure.
And I read stories where, it's going to be in Alabama possibly as early as this week. I don't know so much about that, but where are we? Are you guys going to have that or what?
We are going to have it. First of all, to address the first question, it's going to be in Alabama as soon as today. But as you probably have read and seen in the news, this first wave is most definitely not going to be for a general population. So if you're watching this show, this first wave is not going to be for you. It's not going to be it's not going to be for me either.
No.
It's going to be for people in nursing homes, and I think people who are hospital workers, like physicians and nurses, that sort of thing. It's going to be here even as early as today, but we do not know the timing of when it's going to be available for the general population.
Jake, there's been a lot of talk as well about the vaccine and looking forward to getting the batches of vaccine, but there's been a lot of conversation too about the possible side effects of the vaccine.
What we've seen so far in at least the published data is it is very similar to most of your longer term stronger vaccines, such as a shingles or a pneumonia vaccine. You get the shot, you get a good sore arm, you get you a good little spot on your arm there, and you feel a little lousy for a couple of days. That's the most common reported stuff. But again, not any different than most every vaccine we ever administer. So it's exactly what I would expect with a potent vaccine. It's the exact side effects I would expect, nothing beyond that.
And certainly, Jared, we want to remind people of their flu shots too.
Oh yeah, sure. We've been saying from day one, this is just as important as a flu shot as probably that we've ever had. And so make sure it's definitely not too late to get your flu shot. Now, with that said, in the next month, 2 months, there's going to be a shift from talking about flu shots because we're all going to be obsessed about the COVID vaccine. But if you haven't had your flu shot, most definitely make that happen. And then when the COVID vaccine comes out, whenever we're able to get it for the general public, then you can make a decision about that.
And we're looking forward to that. We hope that because a lot of people are dying of this, and maybe it's just one of the causes of their demise, but hopefully that's going to be here sooner than later, and we can talk about some better things.
I'd like to have a show on it whenever we can get our hands on it, but I just don't know the timing yet, and so when it gets around to it, we'll do it.
And quickly before we go, gift shop is up and going, and we're ready for the holiday season, right?
Christmas.
I'm glad you guys are not
Christmas
having
since
to do
October,
that.
but no, we can't mess with it. Yeah, the store's decorated great. Teresa's done a good job with that. There's tons of stuff there, and sales for Christmas are picking up rapidly. Come get it before it's gone.
And if you guys need more information, they got a webpage, they got Facebook. You can call them at the store, but calling them at the store on a Monday morning probably not too good idea though.
It's okay. You just may have to wait a while.
We'll get a busy signal.
Merry Christmas to y'all. Thank y'all.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
We got more Daybreak just ahead. Don't go away.